Not sure why you always start over there, Paul.
Listen, I like to be in the driver's seat, Mario. What can I say?
We
Like,
tried that once on an
see,
episode. It didn't work.
yeah, right. Welcome to Hashtag Sports, everybody. The Bills. Boy, it feels different to be a Bills fan today, doesn't it?
Sure does. I mean, I know a lot of Bills Mafia, hashtag Nation, you guys were dreading this game, but very convincing 31-10 victory by the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically, we're going to talk about it all tonight. We're going to talk about James Cook. We're going to talk about Sean McDermott's game plan coming into tonight. Everyone will give you our overall thoughts and everything going on with Buffalo Bills and how other teams failed to hold up their end of the bargain this week, Minnesota being one of them.
New York, the Jets.
Yes, the Jets actually not doing anything, just laying down and being roadkill.
Yeah.
You know what? But, I mean, like as we always start all of our shows, the show is sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. Link in the description of this video. You can find all of our stuff on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify. We'll set up Patreon.
Hey, Mark, can you turn up the volume on your actual physical mic a little bit? You're just fading a little bit. Just make sure that you're hooked up to the actual mic and not the wiry headset that you got.
Am I this time? That would be
There
upsetting.
we go. There you are.
That would be upsetting.
There we go.
All right. That's a little bit better. Anyway, Paul, you know what? We're going to talk about the game, but let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is obviously the playoff picture for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Big change.
Guys, here we got the simulator on ESPN.com. You guys have seen this. It's always fun to play with. We're going to go through, we're going to try to make this as quick as possible. But we have to try to figure out what the heck are the Buffalo Bills going to be doing. You know, I mean, what's their possible path to the playoffs here? So I got to minimize a little bit just for you guys so we can pick some games here. So week 16, let's just obviously just focus on the AFC. Bengals versus Steelers. Steelers are a shell of themselves.
Oh yeah, they're a disaster. Yeah.
Jags versus Bucks.
That's an interesting one.
Bucks are
yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, what's the Bucks record right now? They are.
I'll show you right now. The Bucks are currently 7-7, but they're still this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still in playoff with their division.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could play that game tough. Obviously,
home game. They're still in the mix there. I really think the Bucks might win that game.
All right, I'll take that one. Bills versus Chargers. You're not really relying on stick, are you?
No.
Dallas versus Miami. Dallas going to Miami. That's a pissed off Dallas team getting off that plane in Miami, dude.
Oh yeah, and I mean, listen. They got to be prepared to stop the run. They clearly were not prepared to stop the run today. Miami's just going to run down their throats. You know, so I feel like Miami wins that one.
All right. Cleveland versus Houston at Houston.
CJ Stroud's playing. Houston wins that game.
Is he going to be playing?
He was out with a concussion this week, so probably back.
Probably back. All right, we'll pick Houston on that one. You got Denver beating the Patriots at home. Kansas City versus I want to say Oakland all the time. Vegas. I'm gonna go with KC on that one.
Yeah.
Let me see. Who else do we have here? I think that's it for Baltimore at San Francisco.
Does it really matter though?
No, because I mean they're 10-3. That would put them to 10-4. It would just matter with the seeding, I guess. You think? I mean, that could be a Super Bowl matchup. Honestly, I really love the way the Ravens are playing. So we'll just pick that just for fun. I'll pick San Francisco on that one because they're really hot right now. I click it and it makes Miami the 1 seed. So just after week 16, if we look at it, Buffalo's the 7th seed going into that.
Yeah.
All right, week 17, let's go. Jets versus Browns at Cleveland. Yeah, we're gonna go to Cleveland on that one. Let me see. Dolphins and Ravens. What happened? You just get sprayed in the eye by something?
I just took a drink out of my Monster and it sprayed me right in the eye.
Phrasing, Paul. It's a family show.
Oh my gosh, that is well, that is aggressive. Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm okay. Sorry, what was the question?
Cleveland. I just said Cleveland versus the Jets. That's all.
Oh yeah.
At Baltimore.
Mm.
I like the way
At Baltimore.
at Baltimore. Yeah,
Gotta take Baltimore at home.
take Baltimore. Bills versus the Patriots. You think on the streak that they're on, Patriots there might be in full.
Next question.
Next question. As we go through Kansas City, Cincinnati at KC.
No way Cincinnati wins. Like I get they're the darling right now because it's fun, but there's no way Cincy wins that game.
Oh, Cincy. Okay, all right. So, LA versus Denver. You think Denver beats LA? Beats the Chargers?
Yeah, I think everybody beats the Chargers right now. They're terrible.
Oh, they are bad. Vegas at the Colts. That's a tough one. Like I don't even know who to pick in that one.
I take the Colts there because they're at home.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Houston versus Tennessee. I'm gonna take Houston, and then Carolina versus Jacksonville. We're gonna take Jacksonville on that one. I think that's all the AFC matchups that we have for Week 17. Let me just take one more run through. Okay, we're good. Week 18. Going to Week 18. Currently, Buffalo holds the 6th seed. So let's try it out. Denver beats Vegas. I think that Baltimore will beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
We'll save the Bills matchup for last. Cincy, Cleveland at Cincy.
I guess Cleveland.
You know what's crazy? I've been seeing like so many tweets from people on Twitter going, "Yeah, if Cleveland and Cincy win out, the Bills are out." I'm like, excuse me, they play Week 18. Like,
yeah. That can't happen. That can't happen.
Not even looking. I'll take Jacksonville over Tennessee. Houston and Indy at Indy.
Houston.
All right. And I got Kansas City over the Chargers. I think that's all the AFC matchups for the final week of the season.
Okay.
One more game to pick.
Yeah. Bills Dolphins.
Dolphins.
And that's a big one, right? Like,
yeah.
And I guess that's where like the Steelers Ravens game is interesting because if Miami does drop one of these games along the way, it separates them, right? Yeah, it separates them. So
if Miami wins that game, Denver will be your 7th seed. And Miami stays in the 3rd seed.
And Buffalo's out.
Yeah. Buffalo wins that game. They jump to the 4th seed.
Oh, playing Cleveland. Let's go.
Home versus Joe Flacco. Like,
let's go.
Obviously, there's a bunch of different simulations. You guys could pick the games going back and forth. It could be a bunch of different things. But this is just one simulation. We just wanted to go through it and just say, okay, the likelihood of certain teams winning. But, with this season, Paul, the games that have been played, you don't even know who's going to win. It's ridiculous, some of the stuff that happens. So if it happens to play out the way we predicted tonight, Buffalo will have a home game, finish the season 11-6. The number one thing I think on everyone's mind is they just have to win out. That's the number one you got to have for the Buffalo Bills. They have to win out. If they do not win out, we're not even having discussions. But there is a scenario where they don't win out and there's other collapses that happen with teams.
They could still get in.
So we'll explore some more of those as it gets closer to that. But back to the game tonight, Paul.
Well, before we do that playoff predictor brought to you by Mr. Rogers Homes, your #1 Arizona relocation specialist. Thank you very, very much, Sean, for sponsoring the show. Love you. Thanks as always. So if you guys are interested in building wealth through real estate, get a hold of MrRogersHomes.com. Sean Rogers, Arizona real estate specialist. The game tonight, this was the game that I think Bills fans expected the Bills to look like every game for the prior 14 weeks, right? Like this is the team you expected just as far as dominating, right?
Yes.
I saw the joke was that somebody I want to say maybe it was Naveed. I'll go get it. Here it is. Yeah, Dorsey would have abandoned the run after the opening kickoff. I think it is so smart of Brady to just say, you know what, you're going to keep letting us run it. Let's stay in the game. Right? We're in the game. That's it. Let's stay in the game. You're giving us 6 yards a clip. We're just going to keep taking it. We'll take the bait. That's fine. Yeah. We're going to run it until they stop it. Well, and Allen had more rushing attempts than completions. Think about that, right? What do you have? 8 rushing attempts and 7 completions?
Is that
If
what
I
it was? Let me just
let
check.
me look. Let me look.
He had 8 rushes and 7 completions. Yes.
Yep, that's right. Eight carries for 24 yards and a touchdown, 7 completions for 94 yards.
Can't win games doing that, Paul. Can't win
Oh
games.
God.
Yeah, and I just want to just kind of.
And Allen didn't throw a pick. Thank you, Buffalo Mafia News. You're right. Hey, if that's the secret sauce, right? Is that the secret sauce?
Pretty much. Now, just to let everyone know, because you know what, Cook played that first drive. They went 14 plays. They scored a touchdown. Looked very impressive. They were literally bullying the defensive front of the Dallas Cowboys, who is really, because we always talk about it all the time. You build your team to take care of your division and then your conference.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the biggest threats that you have in both of those things? And that's how you build your defense. That's how you build your team. But you also have to have a complement to it. Your offense has to complement your defense. Philly has done that. Dallas has done that. Dallas, the way that their division is set up, they're not, even though they have Saquon Barkley in that division, and you got DeAndre Swift in that division, they're just like, listen, let's just try to outscore them so they have to throw, because that's what our defense is built on. It's built on,
right,
just pinning our ears back and coming at the quarterback. So what happened was, to start this game, they went with Cook, 14 plays, they ended up getting a touchdown. Then you started to see Johnson and Murray in there on the second possession. Everyone's like, what's going on with Cook? Why do we keep doing this, blah, blah, blah? Well, you got to remember, guys, offensive coordinators have a script that they want to go through, try to either set things up later in the game, or they want to take advantage of certain things that they may see openings of. That first drive, until they got in the red zone, he was still on his script. So the second drive, when they came out, he was trying to see how they would react to having Murray in there and having Ty Johnson in there. And we saw the result. Murray was in there, and they decided to bring a sixth defender to test this pass pro. And Allen even got knocked on the ground from that. So they said, Brady's not stupid. He said immediately, he goes, listen, let's put Cook in there. They're going to have to delegate a guy to him so they can't rush. So they can only rush 4. If they bring an odd man pressure, Allen will get out of it. But then they just decided, you're going to let us run? We'll be patient enough to run.
Right.
To the tune of 266 yards on 49 carries as a team.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Well, James Cook averaged 7.2 yards per carry today. Ty Johnson, 6 yards per carry. And again, Ty Johnson is a great little addition. He's thick enough to be able to stay inside the guards and give you those dirty yards. He can catch some passes out of the backfield for you if you absolutely need him to do so. He's got enough wiggle, I guess, to be dangerous on the edge. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, you saw 10 total touches from Ty Johnson today. And I think you can be very satisfied with what you saw, because,
Absolutely.
You let Devin Singletary walk. I'm just as happy with Ty Johnson as I would have been with Devin Singletary for the role that he was playing. No problem.
Well,
no problem.
We could talk about the psychology of a player, because, coming in, trying to prove himself, playing on a winning team, he knows he has to step it up. He came from the Jets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you start to look at that, but, and to your point, Paul, we had talked about it with the rookie burnout. Obviously, he cooked it the second season, but you don't want to burn him out.
No.
Playoffs. So, delegating 10 carries to another back. I mean, Murray even had 5. So, you take some of the, even though Cook had 25 carries tonight, we're like,
I know,
delegating other carries. But still, I mean, if something's working, if he would have had 30 plus carries, I would have been concerned.
Right. Well, and to top that all off, right, at halftime, I looked at my phone and saw, the total touches for everybody, on the offensive side of the football. And I just chuckled to myself. I was like, the rest of this game is a total waste of scouting. Like, teams shouldn't even look at it, right? Because the Bills were clearly in control. That was like, the rest of this game is just going to be, you're going to see, the starters were out by halfway through by a few minutes into the fourth quarter. You saw defensive looks you hadn't really seen yet. We saw a wide 9 on a third down. We saw a wide 9, Mario. A wide 9. You know how excited I was about that? And Dak got smoked on that wide 9. Smoked. It felt so good.
It's so great.
Well, and I was looking at it going, oh my God, did they have Jordan Phillips lined up on the end? And I didn't even see Leonard Floyd out that far. I was like, what the hell's happening? What is this? Like, Leonard Floyd wasn't even on the broadcast coverage. Like, I didn't know he was there. I had no idea. It came off the sideline to make, get some pressure. But it's the fact of the matter is, this game did a lot for you. One, it established that James Cook is a weapon. One, I think the rest of the NFL already knows that. Two, it said, if you're going to give it to us, we're going to take it. And I think a lot of times coaches and, other opposing teams would look at it and say, Buffalo can only do what they're good at. They will. That's it. We could trick them into getting back into Billsy things. And here they did exactly what Kansas City did to us. Remember that game where Kansas City ran for like 250 yards on us?
You mean the only home game they played against Kansas City, which was an empty stadium?
Yeah. That's the one.
In 2020, yep. Yeah,
that's the one. And Andy Reid wasn't stupid. He's like, you're going to let me run. I'll just keep running the football. That's fine with me, right? You're going to make my day easy.
It hurts because Star was still on the team then.
Mm-hmm. I know, buddy. It's okay.
No,
it's okay.
You win some, you lose some. But I think you bring up a great point though. When are we've been banging the table more so you than me? You know what? When are they just kind of commit to something if they're going to give it to you? I mean, every team has been saying you're not going to be patient enough to do this. We talked about it with Dable. We talked about it with Dorsey. Now you see it with Joe Brady. He's sitting there going, yeah, I'll take the heat off of my quarterback for a game. If we're getting 7 yards a clip, sure, yeah. Let this all-world running back go out there. And he keeps talking about it in the chat the drops. I mean, Kincaid dropped a couple.
Cook dropped one, dropped a TD pass.
Yeah, I think Diggs dropped one, but I mean, Diggs shows you who he is with that one-handed catch. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. So it's like they're playing loose, they're playing in rhythm, they're comfortable in their own skin as far as a team goes offensively. Finally, and they're just having fun and they're just dominating teams. Like if you took a look at it since Joe Brady has taken over, you completely piss pound the Jets. You go into Philly where a game you should have won. I mean, let's be honest here. Yeah. Then you beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, and now you come back, you beat the number one scoring team in the NFL. Many pundits will be like, well, Josh Allen was 7-15. He gets no MVP consideration. But the way that he sways a defense, I mean, I remember he handed off inside to Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson ran around the edge and got a first down. Half the line was still in the box waiting for
Allen.
Yeah.
Yep.
If that's not an MVP to a team and to the league, I don't know what is. Like this guy does something otherworldly every game. And I know that's not what you base the MVP on, but it's like when you think of those other players, you take those players off of those teams. Are those teams still what they are?
Yeah. Well, Kyle Allen with his sixth appearance this season, still no pass attempts, 0.
None. He doesn't need to. He doesn't want to show up the other Allen.
The secret weapon. Our Taysom Hill. Gotta make sure nobody knows the quarterback can throw, right?
But it is the 6th game that Allen has been pulled in the 4th quarter, Paul. We got to start talking about that. That's crazy.
I know, but it's true. Like it's what this game is, right? Buffalo, when they win games, they've been heartbreaking for the last 4 years, right? Those close games, they just can't ever finish. But they can stick it to a good team. I mean, they stuck it to a very good football team. And truthfully speaking, 4 weeks ago, you looked at murderer's row of this schedule, and we were like, man, I just hope we make it out 50-50, right? I hope we make it out. We get some help. And since Joe Brady came in and took over, like I know there's going to be a lot of people, and I saw Donnybrook and mentioned, he goes, hey, all the people who were Dorsey apologists look like they lost that argument. I don't want to defend it, right? But I do think that when Dorsey was fired, you just have to accept whatever Joe Brady's going to do, right? If you're McDermott, you're like, you're just do survive. Just go survive. Whereas Dorsey coming into year 2, right, is like, okay, this is how I want to run the offense. McDermott can say, listen, you can run the offense, but this is the structure that we're going to run this team under. And I felt like there were handcuffs there on Dorsey that weren't really on Joe Brady because your level of expectation is totally different.
100%.
So I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying that it's not apples to apples, right?
No.
McDermott's just too much of a control freak of a coach for it to be apples to apples, in my opinion. But I will tell you, Joe Brady's making a case to like instantly be head coach material. Like he was previously an offensive coordinator with Carolina Panthers. That didn't go well, but Carolina has never put together back-to-back winning seasons as an organization. So there's that. And the fact of the matter is, like if the Bills, let's just imagine for a moment in a world where the Bills win out, The only game, and I mean win out. Like, let's just imagine a world where the Bills win the Super Bowl, right? They win these last couple games. They win the Super Bowl. Joe Brady will have lost one game as offensive coordinator for the Bills, and it was the Eagles game.
Yeah.
That you should have won.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't on him. That wasn't on him.
Right. Right, exactly. So that's what I mean. Like, we could celebrate Joe Brady all you want, but the fact is, the better the Bills perform here, which obviously we need them to, don't be shocked when you hear Joe Brady's name come up in the head coach conversations, because coaches, they want young coaches. That's what the NFL is all about. And the Chargers will call them, like these bad for the Raiders will call them. Like, these bad football teams are always looking for the next coach. Always.
Yeah, and the thing about Brady too is obviously it's the same playbook. He's just running it a little bit different. But you think about it this way. The other point of that, Paul, is this. I know for a fact, and I wasn't at one Bills drive. You weren't either. We don't know this.
Right.
I knew there were handcuffs put on Dorsey because they wanted to preserve Allen. You saw that really early in the season where he wasn't running as much. They wanted to preserve him for the entire season. And I know he came into the season a little banged up, and he got more banged up in those early games. With Joe Brady, you got to think about it too. You talk about murderer's row. He was in a no-win situation.
Yeah.
When you're in a no-win situation, you have zero expectations on you. You could just let it go. So he's the riverboat gambler up there in the box. Just okay, if it works, great. If it doesn't, we're not supposed to beat these teams because of how we performed earlier in the season.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's great for him to do that, but I'm just worried about now. He's got 4 games under his belt. 3-1 as an offensive coordinator, like you said.
Yeah, and the Bills scoring a ton of points in those games.
Are there tendencies starting to develop with him? That's the thing that worries me for the last.
Great. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Nick brings up another great point. It sounds like he's posturing to send Jordan Phillips to tight end university to know how to catch a football. Star Latulele picked off Dak once. That is true.
That was a great game.
That is true.
Thanksgiving like 4 years ago. It was beautiful.
Who's keeping track of Star Latulele's career interceptions? Mario Granada with the win.
I just remember it because we did the Avengers of Bill's YouTube right after that.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that we did. But I mean, total domination from start to finish. You didn't see any of those things. Like I put the meme of the guy pointing in his head on Twitter. I said, can't be questioned for game management if you blow the team out.
Yeah, that's true though. Like that's true. It's how happy it made me when the announcer's like, and the Bills could get this ball back with all 3 timeouts in the first half. I was like, hey, we got all 3 timeouts. Whoa, what the hell? Well, listen, it's not real hard to say power 34. It's not real hard when you're just like power 34.
I do
just run it again.
I do. So one of the games that we may not talk about the refs very much. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of laundry on the field. I mean, if I had to go and look at the statistics for it really quick, penalties, Bills had 1, and Dallas had 5.
I forgot Paul Berg lives in Texas. Living in Texas, it's been a great day.
Oh my god, that's phenomenal. I do believe that the Bills benefited from a couple calls. Obviously, one was the Josh Allen acting job.
Yep, the Diggs fumble that they got another play off.
Yes,
that was huge.
And then there was the roughing the punter, which maybe that's another rule that I'm a little unclear on. I don't. If you leave your feet, are they saying that you have to control yourself when you're approaching a punter who's a defenseless individual? So you can't. If you leave your feet, you're taking that risk that you're going to block it.
Hey man, a couple weeks ago I had to learn what the definition of a catch was, because you need 3 feet in a football move. It was like, this is crazy. I'm over here with my abacus trying to figure out what makes a catch. You're asking me what a punter interference call it? Dude, I don't know anymore. I knew once. I knew the rule when Booby Dixon was in on punt coverage. I knew then. Booby was always in there.
Every time I hear football move, I think of the Heisman Trophy. I'm like, is that what they want guys to do? What is technically a football move? Because there's a bunch. By the way, I know Dak got smacked in the face by Terrell Dodson, who should have been ejected. Like, I'm going to put that out on the table right now. He should have been ejected for that hit on Dak. But Dak does this like half slide sometimes. Like, you don't know if he's a big dude. So if he's coming at you, you're going to try to protect yourself. But given a bunch of things that happened earlier in the game, the defensive game plan from McDermott, I think, is going to get outshined by the James Cook performance.
Yeah.
Like, he
It's,
had a great game plan against this team.
love that point, right? They just played zone. They said, listen, we're going to bring pressure and we're just going to trust that Dallas won't run the football. And really, if you look at the way that the game played out, the offense allowed McDermott to do what he wanted. And I think that's when you get a defensive head coach, so often it's, you got to control the clock. You got to control the clock. But Dallas ran, let's see here, 11 plays total in the first part of this football game, and they were down 14-0 when it was all said and done. Like, that takes you running the football just out of the equation if you're Dallas, because you're down 2 scores. You're down 2 scores to a football team that could put up 50 on you, right? It's two scores in 3 possessions. The math says we need to score every possession from here on out, right? It takes running the football right out. And don't get me wrong, I like Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard as a featured back, I think, is a big disappointment this year for Dallas. And they didn't really back up that position with it. Deuce Vaughn, like it's
Rico Dowell or
exactly. Exactly. They didn't do a great job of backing that position up. Buffalo, on the other hand, you got Ty Johnson, who you picked up completely available. Latavius Murray, completely available. These were all players that would have been there for Dallas and bring a little bit more savvy into that room besides Pollard. They need another back. That's a big gap for them. And honestly, Michael Gallup, what a ghost, man. They're paying that guy like $50 million to just run post routes all day long and not get targets.
He really does. He doesn't do anything.
No.
Like, there's
no.
You know what? I thought it was a very poignant thing that they said throughout the broadcast. They were like, Mike McCarthy, they said when they talked to him, he goes, he doesn't even care who's in there. He's going to call the plays that he wants. It's a great understanding of your
personnel packages.
Yeah. I'm going to call whatever I want. I don't care who's in there. You moron. Like, that's he's the guy that I think should have been fired before all these other coaches.
McCarthy's
just abysmal. Is he a good play caller? Great. Let him be an OC somewhere and just sit up in the box.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot guide a game. Like, like Dallas to me is the NFC version of Miami, where there were a bunch of games this year where you look at the eye-popping stats of the Dallas Cowboys, and they had games pretty much in hand in the middle of the third quarter, and Dak's still in there in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
He's just throwing the ball away. I think the Giants game was one of them. I can't remember. There was a couple other games too where he's just still in the game. Why? You're up 30. What the heck you doing?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Just to try to pad his stats a little bit. But, that all being said, the game plan McDermott had, like you said, run zone. Taylor Rapp wants to hit somebody on every play. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Taylor Rapp wants to hit somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't miss Hyde today, even though you had all those receiving threats.
Right.
Poyer was in the box a lot more coming up on certain plays. He almost had a pick today, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, at that point in the game, they're throwing every down anyway.
And I'm real interested to see the way the snap counts turn out for this game across the defensive line, because one of the hallmarks of, a Sean McDermott led team was that every defensive tackle, only played 48% of snaps or whatever foolish number it was.
Yeah.
I feel like the last 4 to 5 weeks, you've seen less of a rotation. We saw a lot of Vaughn today, right? A lot more than what we've seen before. Almost had a sack. I don't know what happened. Don't know how he doesn't pull Dak down there at the end of the game. But, it's Vaughn again continues to just look pretty washed, he's
opening the door for the quarterback to roll out. And it pisses me off every time he does that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to get into the playoffs, and it's not going to hurt you against Joe Flacco in the playoffs, right? But it's going to kill you against Lamar. It's going to kill you against almost every other playoff quarterback. And I think that's a good question. We see in the chat, who should teams be rooting for, right? Like, you got games coming up for this week. The Bills play Saturday next week?
I believe so. Let me click on. Let me check the Bills' schedule.
Let's see. Week 16.
Everyone knows who the Bills' schedule is now.
Let's see here. Bills are playing, Saturday against the Chargers. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Ooh, Saturday? We got a Saturday game?
Saturday game, yep.
How are we going to do that?
Well, us?
Saturday's usually your busy day, man.
Bro, it's going to be midnight. That's fine. It'll be midnight by the time we're on. That's okay.
I don't know. This game went pretty quick with all the running.
All running plays. My wife said the same thing. She goes, the game, it's in the fourth quarter already. I was like, honey, they've had to stop the game for television timeouts because, But it's true. The Bills were on the goal line. They're like, oh, hold on, we'll be right back. There was nobody hurt. There was no timeouts called. They had to stop the game to get in the television timeout. I was like, yeah, this is old school football. That's the way it was when we were growing up, Mario. They would have to stop the game for television timeouts. That's why when the game was nationally broadcast, as a Bills fan, like if you went to the game, you're like, why the fuck? Why is that? We ran the ball. Why is the clock stopped? And you're like, oh, they had to take a commercial break. Like it's 1987, and everybody's still running the football 84 times a game.
Bills game is on Peacock next week.
Yeah, that's right. I do want to point out we're getting a little slander in the chat about saying that Joe Brady has an easy job. I just want to be clear that in no way was what we were stating. The crux of the point Mario and I were making was the rules for Dorsey versus the rules for Brady are not necessarily the same. We can't say that they are, but I think it's reasonable to assume that the rules for both coordinators aren't necessarily the same. And just asking you to consider that. Have your own opinion. Like I'm not sharing an opinion. Mario's not sharing an opinion, but I do agree in principle that if you're Joe Brady, you are playing for a promotion. You're playing to keep this job because that's a promotion from where you were. Right. This is an interim position right now, as far as the Bills are concerned. He hasn't been hired into this position long term. So, this is still the job interview phase for him. So, yeah, but I do think that when you're in the position that McDermott put the team in by firing Dorsey in the middle of the season, it is, hey, you got to help us survive at this point. You go out and execute what you think you can execute. And I think the rules are just different. That was the crux of the point. We're not saying you should have fired Dorsey. We're not saying you should have fired Dorsey earlier. We're not saying you should have hired Joe Brady in the first place. We're not making any of those arguments. The point is that the rules aren't necessarily the same, and just to consider that. Okay. So when you hear somebody complaining about Dorsey or complaining about Brady, just remember the rules might not have been the same for those two guys. We're not giving a positive or negative take on either of those. I do believe that for the player that Josh Allen is, the offense has felt way more open and easier for Josh to dissect with Brady. And I think that's probably an undefensible point, right? Like, I don't think there's any way to cheat away on that. I think it has clearly been more effective.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, let me look at the box score again for the because I want to see targets, because obviously the Buffalo Bills did not. They did not.
What targets for the Bills offense?
Yeah, targets for the Bills. I don't think Knox had a target.
No, Knox did not. So the targets were limited. Now, mind you, he only attempted 17 passes, right? But Diggs basically got half of Josh Allen's total receiving yards. Diggs 4 or 5 for 48. Cook 2 of 3 for 42. Ty Johnson 1 of 1. Gabe Davis 0 of 1. Shocker. Shakir 0 of 1, and Dalton Kincaid 0 for 2.
I thought that one he could have adjusted on it. That Allen threw a little bit
wrong shoulder.
Pressured. Yeah.
Yeah, it's again. We watch another Gabe Davis snap where he and Allen aren't on the same page. Like, they've been together for 4 years now. That's unexcusable. Inexcusable. Sorry, unexcusable is not a word. It's inexcusable to look over the wrong shoulder. That's inexcusable of your quarterback and wide receiver combo that's been together 4 years. That's you can't continue to accept that. And I think that's why you see Gabe Davis's targets go down and down and down and down and down and down and down.
Yeah, I mean, just saying what he's doing with the offense, just even the simple subtleties of motion, like trying to make it easier for Allen to diagnose what's in front of him. Like, I don't see in the past couple of games, I don't see Allen. Usually we see that deer in the headlights look out of him, and I don't see that now when Brady took over. It seems like he seems confident. He knows what he wants. He knows where he's going to go with the ball. He seems like he has his 3 reads that he wants to do, and he seems a little bit more confident in the pocket. And I think that it would behoove other teams to try to position themselves to knock Buffalo out of the playoffs, whatever kind of combination that is. They have to try to do that, because no team, I'll tell you right now, and this is not just coming from a Bills NFL channel or whatever, no team wants to play them.
No
team wants to see the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, at home or on the road. Doesn't even matter.
Right. Yeah. So let's look at game logs, because everybody used to talk about Josh Allen's completion percentage, saying, oh, well, Josh is, His completion percentage is in the stratosphere since taking over, right? So what would that be? Josh Allen's first or Joe Brady's first game was the Miami game. Is that right? No. Is that right?
Jets game.
The Jets game. Okay. So as per game logs, sorry, let me pull this up. Oh, that's weird. Pro Football Reference only has the Jets game as the last game on here.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So if you're looking up, I mean, his completion percentage you're trying to get.
Sorry, I was reading this. I was reading the schedule backwards. Excuse me. Sorry. So, completion percentage 62.5%, 56.9%, 54.8%. Last 3 games, right? And prior to that, you'd see Josh go out and put up 63, 65, 77. Yeah. Like the completion percentage numbers were higher, but I think everybody takes what we see now versus what we saw then.
Yeah, that's why numbers. Right? That's where the numbers can be very, very misleading with a lot of these
guys.
And we used to talk about the turnover ratio with Tyrod Taylor, but nobody ever looked at the 3 and outs that that kept the defense on the field forever. But, well, you didn't turn the ball over today. You lost 38-17. I don't care if you didn't turn the ball over. You had 7 3 and outs. What are you going to do with a team like that? And it's
And Gabe Davis is a guy that's going to walk. Like, you're not going to re-sign Gabe Davis. What he gives you, you will happily try and find on the open market because the Bills have done that before, right? I think you're totally fine to find a wide receiver 2 out there somewhere because since he's going to, T. Higgins is going to soak up a ton of money on the free agent market. Buffalo is not in play for T. Higgins. You can't make money happen, right? No. Like, there's no way you can get T. Higgins. Erase that from your mind. But Gabe Davis is going to get $9 to $10 million a year, regardless of what he puts on tape this year. He's going to get a lot of money. And for Buffalo to go out and get a number 2 wide receiver, you're probably looking at a guy closer to like the Tyler Boyds of the world from the Bengals, who are probably riding the last train to retirement. Like that's what you're going to be able to afford. And that you just have to be okay with that. And you got to hope that, because now like Justin Shorter is eligible to come back and they're activating him. He's practicing now, right? You're hoping that your bet on Justin Shorter pays off the same way that it paid off for Gabe Davis in years 2 and 3. Right? You're hoping that you hit on that lottery ticket. So you're going to buy another 1 year of a veteran next offseason. It's not going to be Gabe Davis because if I've learned nothing, right, I've learned that the Bills have spent a lot of money at the defensive end position, and AJ Epinesa is playing better than almost all of them. So you're going to wash yourself of the Leonard Floyd contract. You're going to have money. You're probably going to try and re-sign AJ Epinesa because, look at how he's playing. And if Buffalo would have done it already if he was okay to not go to free agency. But I think he knows you go to free agency, right? Yeah. Like his agent's telling him, don't resign, go to free agency.
Yeah, they're not going to have the money for you, like
right
that you're going to earn. And
yeah.
So I mean, we may be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's something to definitely to think about because like you said, Gabe's going to be gone, AJ's gone, Floyd is 1 year guy, he's going to be gone.
Right.
It's tough because you sign Floyd to be the Band-Aid for before Vaughn comes back, and he's playing better than Vaughn.
Yeah.
Like, I think if he had the contract that you were giving Vaughn, nobody would care.
Right.
Right. This point.
Yeah, that's right.
Just a heads up, too. Josh Allen in the past 4 games since Brady has taken over, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. And that's including rushing touchdowns. He's rushed for 4, thrown 7. So you're getting roughly a 3-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio with Josh Allen over the last 4 games, and I think you would take that. And it's not like you could talk about the Jets, but going into that game, they had a very, very, very difficult defense to deal with.
Yeah,
went through the Jets, at Eagles, at Cowboys, or at Chiefs, home versus the Cowboys. It wasn't like you were going through a cake schedule and Allen's beating on these teams that are awful. But 3 playoff teams, 2 of those teams which are considered to go into the Super Bowl. You dog walked them. You really did.
Yeah, sure did. Boy, that felt good, didn't it? Oh. So I guess the question is to go back to it, because we kind of talked about this a little bit, right? If you're looking at the game tonight, Ravens, Jags, who you pulling for, right? To me, I don't care who we play in the playoffs, right? I think if you're Buffalo, there's a point where you say whoever is playing the Dolphins is who you pull for, right? Because you're hoping that, you could kind of sneak in that way. If Miami falls apart, you're in. That's the way that works out, right? Still got to run the table, but if Miami shits the bed, then you're walking into the playoffs just as long as you're winning these last few games. I know that's not easier said than done, right? But if to me, let the Ravens take the 1 seed. That's fine, right? Let the Ravens take they don't scare me. There's no team in the AFC that scares me.
Yeah, but I don't want them to clinch it before they have to play Miami.
See, that's where it's fun, and I agree with you. But that's the argument, Mario. That's the argument. So let the Jags win tonight, right? Is that what you're saying? Let the Jags win, make the Miami game mean something?
Yeah.
Okay.
They play tonight. Is it tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Jags take it. And Baltimore's like, we want that first round bye.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. You know what I mean? So then they'll play tougher against Miami. Dallas now with the pressure on them because if they won, they had a firm. They're already in the playoffs, but they had a firm grip on the NFC East.
Right.
Now they don't. So now they have something to play for, even though they're on the other side of it, of the things that we used to talk about, Paul, of, well, if you're going to lose one, lose a non-conference game. It didn't hurt them. It didn't hurt as far as their conference seeding goes.
Right.
Just a heads up too, another statistic that you guys can throw out for the if you're a fan of Joe Brady. I keep finding these things everywhere, Paul. In the 10 games that Dorsey had, 3 times the Buffalo Bills scored over 30 points. 3 times in 10 games. They've done it 3 of the last 4.
Yep.
With Joe Brady.
Yep.
So just like I said, and they're not playing powder puff teams.
No.
Chiefs defense is much improved. Eagles defense, we know what that is. The Jets, the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bland didn't even touch a ball today. He didn't even get a chance to.
And, I see Shrek Reviewer put up a comment. I want to just address this real quick. It said, what happened the last time we faced the Ravens in the playoffs? That right? We knocked Lamar out of the game. My memory of that game was scary prior to Lamar going out. Right?
17-3, I think, was the final. But that pick by Johnson sealed, because it was 10-3 at that point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
they were going to score.
So here's the way that I remember that game, right? Versus what we just saw. Everybody tries to contain Lamar, right? Of course, that's what you want to make him throw the football. You want to make him beat you in the air. That's what you want. And if you're Buffalo, you can go 14-0 on them. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get Lamar the quarterback. And I think that's the bet that Buffalo is willing to gamble on, right? That's where you're putting your money. But if you look at how Buffalo pressured Dak, I'd bring that right against Baltimore. They really kept those lanes tight today.
Yeah.
I know that I have some issues with the way that Vaughn played.
Yes.
Right. So I think you have some leakage there. But otherwise, there weren't really great passing lanes today for Dak. There wasn't the step up, right? Like the way this defensive line played, that's exactly how you'd want to pressure Lamar. Exactly. That is exactly how you attack Lamar as a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, you got people say that you got to turn Lamar into a pure passer, and he's an excellent quarterback in the NFL. But that's how you beat Lamar Jackson. You can't let him use his legs and get those freaks behind him running. You know what I mean? Like Justice Hill and those guys that he has. Gus Edwards out, or is Edwards still in? I can't remember.
No, Edwards is still in. So you got Justice Hill and then Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell. Kid's a monster.
He is.
Total monster.
The Bills cannot let those guys get off, because then it becomes easy. I mean, you talk about Josh Allen today. He didn't. I think I saw a tweet from Bruce Nolan. He goes, Josh Allen didn't have to be Superman today. He didn't even have to be Clark Kent. He was who was the guy? The little reporter, Jimmy, whatever.
Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen. That's what he was today. He didn't even have to do anything spectacular, but he still, he made plays when he had to. He kept the ball. He kept the ball out of harm's way, and he did what he had to do because this was, and I hate to say this, Paul, and you're going to get mad at me, and so is the chat, but this was like a quintessential Patriots game.
Mm-hmm.
The game before, they're throwing 30-something times. Now they run 49 times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It seems like, hey, by the way, guys, NFL, if you're listening, the Bills can get dirty too now. They're not just a
Mhm.
one-man show with Josh Allen. They got Cook now, and then if you pay too much attention to Cook, what's going to happen now with Diggs, Knox, Kincaid, and all those guys that are underneath now? So
Mhm.
um, obviously you have to make some decisions in this offseason with some of the players that you have, but
Mhm.
as good as any, this has been one of the best from a talent perspective. This has been one of the best Buffalo Bill teams we've seen and covered.
Right. And again, like my biggest concern today was solely about the Bills defense. Because you look at, I mean, Dallas was 10-3 at the time for a reason, but they are not good on the road, right?
No.
Like every game that they've lost has been on the road. All their losses are on the road. So, you look at that and say, okay, well, it's raining, it's gonna be crappy weather. Okay, that could be a problem for Dallas. But the fact that this offense kept them off the board minus a field goal in the first half,
I know,
you
right?
know what I mean? Like, I really expected this game to be Buffalo and Dallas just throwing haymakers at each other,
It
right?
looked like
And I
that.
did not get that game at all. I
No.
didn't get that game at all.
It,
And that's fine. But like if you go back and look at the play-by-play, just in the very first drive, Bills went 12 plays for 75 yards. And what do you see? You see, James Cook, Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen scrambles, James Cook, Josh Allen throws to Diggs, James Cook. Like that's and I saw patience out of Cook today that I think might have frustrated me early in the year, right? Because I don't know what it was, but he had all the time in the world today. That offensive line played fantastic. And that's the game that those boys love. You want to have a game where you just run the ball 40 times, the offensive line's like, "Oh, let's go." You saw Deion Dawkins almost murder somebody. What did you tweet out? The snowplow?
the snowplow. I refuse to call it the snowplow because he's a tackle. He wanted to be a tackle. No one wanted to believe me. He was a guard. He's not inside when the plow happens, but he is the snow. He calls himself the snowplow. I mean, it's amazing that if we wanted to make an episode on that, Paul. I mean, if the NFL is really concerned about player safety, they'll outlaw some of the things with those plays.
But the offensive lineman being able to go 12 yards
No,
downfield on a
not
run.
that. Because you're starting to see these guys who are coming back from the secondary when they do these sneaks
Mhm.
and teeing off on quarterbacks that are just like this, completely exposed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a problem. But I mean, I digress. The thing about that though is like he looked like Michael Orr in The Blind Side because sorry, coach, where he had to go home. They blew the whistle. He goes, "Where were you taking him? The bus."
Yeah. Nick said the same thing. Nothing made me happier when Dawkins did the scene from The Blind Side where he took the boy home or whatever he said. But no, that's finishing, right? Like that's how you finish the block. That's what they train you to do. You finish the block.
There's your
But
boy.
Vita, Aaron Cromer. There we go. But
Yeah,
that's
Aaron Cromer sighting.
lifetime supply of beach chairs.
I'll tell you, Cromer and Washington have done a phenomenal job in the past 5-6 weeks with both of these offensive and defensive lines. Whether it's not rotating as much as you said on the defensive line, or this offensive line who has been intact, luckily, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same 5 guys starting since day one. You know what I mean? We're not hearing
knocking on that wood.
Yeah, right. We're not hearing a lot about Osiris Torrance, rookie guard coming in and being, playing next to a guy, number one, next to a guy who people have a lot of question marks about his play, not his physical ability, because Spencer Brown is a freak.
Right.
You play next to him, a lot of question marks about that. And then you're sitting next to Mitch Morse. How valuable is that guy to this team? You have a rookie and a guy coming in off of free agency that you have to communicate with the most, and you're shoring things up in that middle for Josh Allen and James Cook. They're just as proud of this game as James Cook is.
Hey, it was fun to watch that offensive line today, right? It was fun. Very, very fun. And Micah Parsons don't get me wrong, Parsons is an impact player. And the Bills did a good job of approaching that, because when you have a player like Parsons, it's really easy to kind of dedicate more resources to them than he probably deserves, given, on every snap. Because you have to do that, right? You got to neutralize their biggest threat on the defense. And that 100% is Micah Parsons. And I thought they did a great job of controlling that gap all day, right?
Yeah.
All day. And that was Dawkins and Torrance controlled that gap all day long. Good job on them. Good on them. And again, I think great call out to Eric Washington and Aaron Kromer. When you have a change on the offensive side of the football, like changing offensive coordinators, people kind of forget the fact that there's other people on the staff that are impacted by changes like that. Good job, Kromer. Right? Like, what great communication. Way to be all on the same page. Like, kudos. Big kudos to Aaron Kromer for being able to make the change during an offensive coordinator change. It's underplayed and underappreciated, but that's a skill. Good for them.
It brings up two questions for me, Paul. It's pretty interesting that you say that, but it brings up two questions for me. Number one, was Dorsey the one and only problem? Because if everything else is shored up the way it is, was Dorsey the problem? We just need another guy calling the plays. Or is it the fact that Kromer has been an OC before? Like a lot of these guys that are on that offensive staff are able to communicate certain things that need to be communicated across that line at various points. You know what I mean? We talk about too many cooks in the kitchen. Well, maybe when it comes down to communication, I don't think you have enough cooks. If they're all delivering the same message, it's got to be good.
I mean, it's again, sometimes it just comes down to philosophy, right? Like, we've all had bosses that maybe we like, but we don't always work the best with. And then there's that boss where you might not stand the guy, but you work very well together, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what it is. This offense is clicking. I'm not gonna worry about how the sausage is made right now, because it was real critical of McDermott firing Dorsey when he did, because it seemed short-sighted, right? Okay, you're going into a divisional game. You're playing like dog crap, and now we're going to fire the offensive coordinator coming out of a bye week, the week after a bye, or a week before going into a bye. Like, the timing of it was really, really frustrating, because I think in hindsight, you could look at it and say, well, if we're going to fire our offensive coordinator, this is the perfect time of the season to fire your offensive coordinator. But it's really frustrating because, you drop that game and then you're like, oh yeah, we let Dorsey go and we got a divisional game coming up, and it's on a short week. Like, what the hell are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Because it's like the Jets played Trevor Siemian today. Like, don't get me wrong. Nobody's going to be happier about Nathaniel Hackett getting fired than me, right? Nobody's going to be happier about that than me.
But NutraSweet Adam Gase.
God, he's so bad at football.
Given your point from earlier, though, Paul, if the Bills do make a run, we'll get back to that comment, too, that you just had posted. If the Bills do make a run, and you talk about Joe Brady will get some head coaching considerations.
Yeah.
They sometimes pick guys that they know to be on their staff. You're telling me that Kromer wouldn't go to be his OC?
That's what I mean, right? Like,
you know what I mean? Like, this
is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous conversation.
Those teams have those, because obviously we talk about Black Monday. It's after week 18, it's the Monday after week 18, all the coaches get fired. But they start filling those slots as fast as they can. And if the Buffalo Bills make a deep run, a lot of those coaches really aren't available. I mean, people have talked about when didn't Greg Roman just leave to go for interviewing opportunities during that time?
Yep.
Yeah. But that's what'll happen. But if they go for a deep run, some of those spots might be filled up already.
And that's really, so I get that NFL teams need to fill jobs, right? So I get that it's a business. You can't wait for other teams to finish doing what they're doing, in order to hold out your interviews. I get it. But it's the same thing like we look at with the Patriots, right? The Patriots are going to mercy fire Bill Belichick at the end of the season, right? They're letting him ride off into the sunset by not firing him and tarnishing his legacy, I guess, right? But at the same token, like, by keeping Belichick there, you're impacting his input on your draft class that year, right? Like, you're not getting a different set of eyes to answer the questions that, your scouting staff may come and ask, or what kind of coach are you going to hire in the meantime? That impacts how you scout these guys, so there's a lot to be desired there. But it's just another example that, the coaching staff that you have in place has a huge impact on the decisions that you make as an organization. And Buffalo looks like they found themselves an offensive coordinator in Joe Brady. And the question is he going to be here for long enough to make more than just an immediate impact? Right.
Yes.
Because playing lights out right now. Josh Allen looks like the MVP of the NFL, and he did absolutely nothing today. But he still impacted every snap.
There it is.
Like,
Seth put that in there.
yeah, that's true. I feel like a kid who didn't do anything in class still got an A. Mario, you're a teacher. You see that.
Yeah, I do a lot. And Trekker, does Fournette play this year? You got to remember, Fournette was picked up or being talked about being picked up when Dorsey was still the offensive coordinator. So I don't know if that was a move that they made that he wanted specifically, and maybe Brady didn't. Maybe Brady likes Ty Johnson better.
There's no reason to not play Ty Johnson right now.
No, he has. And plus that too. I mean, the guy's coming in on a 1-year deal, and he sees Fournette in the rearview mirror. You tell me you're not going to get the best football out of Ty Johnson?
Right.
You're out of your mind.
Well, and on top of that, right, Fournette still has 3 games to be called up. Well, if the math serves me correctly, like it's you get 3 calls from the practice squad before you have to be added to the 53-man roster to appear in another game. So right now, your rostered running backs are James Cook, Ty Johnson, Latavius Murray. Those are your 3 53-man rostered running backs. So like it's not like Ty Johnson isn't on the 53 and is getting called up over Leonard Fournette. But if I were Coach McDermott, I have no reason to put Fournette out there before the final 3 games of the season, because if we're going to carry Fournette into the playoffs, because you'd have to make a determination, you can't be calling up practice squad players during the during the postseason. The rules are different around that stuff. We can go into that if people get bored about episodes like that. The rules are different around roster flexibility in the playoffs. But the fact of the matter is, there's no reason to have Leonard Fournette on your team right now. But I would expect to see him the last 3 games of the season. He's called Playoff Lenny for a reason. You're likely going to see him the last 3 games of the year.
Yeah, I'd sit Vaughn for him just to see. Wait, I didn't hear the name Taiwan Jones. Are you sure?
Oh, God, stop it. Stop. Stop it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, #Nation Bills Mafia. We've come to that time. Yeah, when the Bills win, we roast. So you guys can roast anything you want. Put it in the chat. Paul will be happy to read it all off because it's usually burn about me. So I'll put 2.5 minutes on the clock. But before that, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. Follow all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify upon completion of the episode. Our sponsor for tonight's show, Mr. Rogers Homes. If you're looking to get some real estate in the Valley of the Sun, make sure you hit up Sean. It's the description. Brochures in the description of the video, as well as our Patreon. So, all right, 2.5 minutes. Roast away, guys. Let's have some fun with this.
Real quick point about Leonard Fournette coming up. It does allow you to rest Latavius Murray, who, again, I guess that he's old. He's the oldest running back in the NFL. That matters.
He doesn't run like it, though.
I do want to point out, Trek Reviewer asked you to put on a hat about 45 minutes ago because he said you were blinding the chat.
And I ignored him. I told him to close his eyes.
Did you?
Oh,
I didn't see that. All right.
I love Trek.
Yeah, see, there it is. Mario, put your hat on. You're blinding the chat.
It's a dual screen, Trek.
Mario, Buffalo Mafia News. Mario's forehead has grown for every stressful Bills game. He's been hiding it with the hats. Yeah, there we go.
I have been.
Yeah, there we go.
When I first summer, I thought it was a back episode of Duck Dynasty.
That is funny. That is funny. I think we're both clicking in the chat, Mario.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's what happens when you got to produce the show, too.
Yeah. Paul, who let you have a Monster? Are you allowed to drink caffeine on a school night?
It is true. Paul is the insane guy who could drink like coffee at 11:30 and go to sleep at midnight.
Yeah, guys, it just all it does is just settle down the ADHD. It's a constant battle. Seth 101, Mario, if I give you a super chat, will you please get a haircut? No, Mario, your hair's long for a justifiable reason.
Yeah,
like it's long for a justifiable reason. It's something you're doing with your oldest boy. You both got long hair. I think it's awesome.
So the story is this: December, Christmas, 2021. My son said, I go, what do you want for one of your Christmas gifts? He said, I want you to grow your hair out as long as mine. Well, obviously he hasn't cut his, so it's gotten as long as, you know, I mean, he goes, all right, so he wants me to grow my hair out to be as long as his. So I've been doing that since December of 2021, and his hair is pretty long. He has it shaved on the sides and in the back, and at the top of it's really long. Ponytail goes down really far, so I'm like, all right, I'll grow it long for you too, bud. So it's not like I'm sitting here, I'm trying to prove a point, or I'm saying.
I do want to point out the lighting doesn't let you guys know how long my hair is, but my hair is also very long right now because I have to do I'm in a band and we're doing a Goo Goo Dolls show in February, so I gotta have Johnny Resnick-esque hair, I guess. Paul rocking the bedroom backlight like a sophomore at SUNY Brockport. Hard to argue with that.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no lies detected there. No lies detected there. Mario looks like Boykin Spaniel with fluffy dog ears.
I don't even know what that is.
You could go ahead and Google that. You should Google that.
Buffalo Mafia News, though, comes in. Paul dresses like one of those 20-year-olds playing a high schooler in a Disney show.
You know what? The fact that I'm 41 and this is the conversation we could have about me, my life's pretty good.
He's the Ralph Macchio of Bill's YouTube.
Ralph Macchio, not very athletic. I don't know if you guys have seen any recent episodes of Cobra Kai.
No,
it's
the first Karate Kid he was in. He was playing a 16-year-old. He was 40. Like
Mario's forehead runs to the top of his head when he pulls his hair with all his might to make an awesome man bun. I've never seen the man bun, like the bun on top. I've never seen you rock that.
I have a man bun. Nope.
Mario looks like if TJ Hawkinson let himself go.
Oh my
God. Oh man, that is excellent.
That wins. Paul, take it home, man.
That is outstanding, guys. That's a great one. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Paul from Hashtag Sports, Mario and his hairline from Hashtag Sports. Sorry, the TJ Hawkinson thing. I can't unsee it. When you learn something you're not supposed to know? I can't unsee it. Sean Rogers, sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. Merry Christmas, Hashtag Nation. We will see everybody before Christmas, right? Yeah, we've got a Saturday game, so we'll see everybody before Christmas.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
We'll see you then, guys. Make sure you tune in to Joe for the play-by-play.
Yes, sir.
You guys, TJ freaking Hawkinson, I'm out of here.
Thank you, Paul, as well as the rest of the Hashtag Sports crew. It's an honor being a sponsor. Investing in real estate, especially in the Phoenix metro area, may change your financial picture forever. And it's easier than you may think. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and proud of it. Yet I live in the Valley of the Sun, have for decades, and love it. I also humbly run one of the top real estate teams in Arizona. We help others score, as it were, when it comes to buying, selling, renting, and of course, investing in real estate. I've been a multi-million-dollar producer for many years, and the Mr. Rogers Homes Arizona real estate team has earned the top spot at West USA Realty for 10 years plus. Again, thank you, Hashtag Sports, Go Bills, and God